Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Deadly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask Deadly. This is the weekly show where I read your questions that you leave me in the comment section and do my best to answer them in about 10 minutes or so. So let's get started. The first question comes from Gurky. Do you think the AI missions are going to be a thing in DayZ standalone? Of course, modding is going to be enabled. I'm sure that there's going to be wasteland mods and different type of overpoch and epoch mods that are going to have AI missions. So if you've had DayZ mods that had missions in the past, I'm sure that there will be some for DayZ standalone in the future. How that works though with the DayZ's engine, I don't know. Maybe actually won't be possible to actually embed Arma 3 AI into DayZ standalone mods. We'll just have to see how creative the modders get once they get access to begin working on their games. Next question comes from Nasty Habits. Will you ever collaborate with Taupe, the two best shooters in DayZ? You and Taupe would be awesome to watch. Taupe and I we've played DayZ together a few times before last year, but we haven't got a chance to yet this year. So I plan on playing with a lot more DayZ content creators, specifically Twitch streamers, and Taupe is definitely on the list. I know that he is currently streaming Tarkov a lot, so once I actually get my NDA lifted for Tarkov, maybe we could do some stuff there as well. I'll see. The next question comes from the realgammagaming. Will you ever play DayZ RP? And if you could have one map on DayZ, what would it be? I'm going to stay consistent. Namalsk is probably my favorite DayZ mod map, so I would like to see that return. And of course, I play on DayZ Underground all the time, which is a roleplay server. In fact, during this 12-hour stream that I just finished today, we had some of the craziest roleplay I've ever had, and it was a lot of fun and some content that you're definitely going to be seeing here on the channel over the next 2 weeks. So, of course, I think roleplay definitely has a purpose in DayZ standalone, but specifically RP PvP servers. It needs to have that option of just imminent death at all times to give the world some level of immersion. I think you can lose that if you get a little bit too comfortable and safe, and that's just something that DayZ needs, in my opinion. The next question comes from Mr. Burton. Have you ever played Rust? Yeah, I played Rust back when its old engine, but I haven't played much Rust in the new engine. The next comment comes from Pac-Man1745, and he's responding to my discussion about bandits in the last week's Ask Deadly episode. Great explanation on bandits. It's part of DayZ and always should be, and what makes the game more realistic. Me, I don't bandit play much, but sometimes it's fun. Good on you, Deadly. It's good to know that some people do agree with my opinion on bandits, because it's clear that in some of my banditry videos that I uploaded even in the past couple weeks, there's a lot of people who disagree, and I think that's more than fair. And sometimes people get lost so far in the videos that they get really upset with me when I'm antagonizing other survivors as a bandit position. I think a lot of people think I'm being a lot more serious than I am. A large portion of it is roleplay. I do roleplay a lot. I like to fuck around. I'm not as psychotic and crazy as I make myself out to be while I'm playing this game, this survival shooter. So I think people are misunderstanding sometimes whenever I shoot players that I have hostage and things like that, especially if they're openly threatening me. I'm obviously not going to hesitate to kill them, right? So I think a large discussion last week in regards to banditry was fairly well received. And for me, as a main bandit player, it's nice to know that some people do understand that this game covers all aspects of combat and interactions, including banditry. Next question comes from BabyNades. Hey Deadly, besides the ghillie suit, what, in your opinion, is the best camouflage clothing? Thanks. Probably the TTSKO camo set. I would say TTSKO jacket and pants, face mask, bandana, or some sort of boonie hat. Most likely would be the best camouflage in the game. Second to that, I would believe would be the USMC and the USMC pants, followed by just pure black camouflage set. So black shirts, black pants, just making sure that the amount of color on your character is set to a minimum. Those would be the three that I would suggest that you guys try out. Next question comes from Jonathan Roberts. Hey Deadly, it seems that DayZ is the only game that gets my adrenaline pumping, and when I watch your videos, you seem to have the same thing. Does any other game but DayZ have the same effect on you? Sometimes Escape from Tarkov and some Arma mods, but for the most part, no. That's one of the big reasons why I really like DayZ. It's because it's so immersive and it's so intense. that it brings out these emotions, which no other game, in my opinion, does it justice in comparison to DayZ. Next question comes from Cohen. Hey Deli, why don't you have anti-aliasing enabled while playing DayZ? I've seen your settings and wondering why you don't play with it. Your computer seems more than capable. It is actually a problem with OBS Studio, so sometimes whenever you have AA enabled, you actually don't have DayZ show up in OBS, meaning I can't stream. So I have to keep it disabled to fix that issue. Next question comes from Drake Plays. Would you ever consider doing a survivalist series in a co-op group, but take some leeway with certain weapons and equipment, such as being able to use hunting backpacks and only firearms being 22 shotguns and IZH-18 rifles? Probably not, and the only reason why I would say so is I wouldn't want to commit to it because I can barely get in enough time to even consider recording another survivalist episode. If I had an extra 5 hours in the day, of course, but I just don't think I have enough time on my hands in this foreseeable future to be focusing on additional survivalist episodes. And if I did have that time, I would focus on the actual series itself, which hasn't had an episode in many months. We got German Hockey coming in with some rapid fire questions, so let's get started. What's your personal best loot run that I stick to? Probably Cami meets Destroy. Do I ever play solo? Couple times a week. How can I get better at PvP? Just continue to play the game and don't take deaths too seriously. Also, do you ever feel paranoid while playing? Yes, I get anxiety sometimes when I'm playing for long periods of time, or if I've had too much coffee or I'm dehydrated. It's just sometimes I get anxiety with it. It's just like everybody else. It's one of the reasons why I like this game though. Thanks for the questions. Next question comes from LBD. Will there ever be a Deadly server in DayZ? There was. We had a Deadly Nation server for 2 months, and it was an absolute mess because I couldn't find proper admins to run the server, so it was rampant by hackers and exploiters, so we shut down the server. Now, we contribute every single month to DayZ Underground EU, about $42.50. I'm going to be doing that for at least the next 6 months. And so if you're ever wondering what server is the Deadly Nations, a good portion of DUGEU is actually our server, so play there. You'll have a lot of fun. Next question comes from Rogan. How are you doing, mate? Is there any chance that you can stream CSGO or Miscreated? Have a good one. CSGO, definitely not. I don't even really like the game too much. And Miscreated, I used to stream a lot, but if I'm playing Miscreated, in my opinion, I should just be playing DayZ because I think it's a better game. The next question comes from Disgruntled Nova Scotian. But what was the worst patch you've ever had to play through in DayZ Standalone? Man, honestly, 0.61 is definitely up there in the top 3. I'm not gonna lie. It is not the best patch when it comes to server desync and damage delays and uncon delays and PvP combat. One of the worst patches though had to have been like the early like 0.54, 0.55 patches. Where there's just a lot of problems in terms of like if you even got close to another player, your gun would just drop on the ground and shit like that. Military loot spawning rampantly on the coast. Other things, there was a lot of problems, but primarily this patch has been pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. Next question is coming in from Failsafe. What do you think about helicopters when they add them in? Would there be a common thing to use for you? Well, since there's only going to be a few on the map, I can't imagine that I'm going to be using them that often. I mean, vehicles are just back in 0.61 and I barely get a chance to get my hands in the wheels. So I think helicopters are going to be an extremely rare thing. That's going to take a lot of time for players to actually build one up. So yeah, man, it's going to be interesting. I think helicopters have a spot in DayZ, so I'm excited to see what they're like down the road. Next question comes from Baza. Do you have any tips for gauging distances? I have a sniper character on a server, but it never gets played because I just don't know the distance most people are from me. My suggestion is to try to shoot at targets with 100 meters zero and then adjust based on how early or how late the bullet lands in front or behind the target. The way I do it is a little bit weirder than other people because I picture 100 like a massive 100 meter ruler stick like in my mind. And so I almost use it like, I almost zero based on 100 meters and then I add another 100 meters, then I add another 100 meters until I get around where the target is sitting. And it's not usually that accurate, but if there's a target that's like 300 meters away and I zero for 400 and I'm aiming like a little bit on, like I'm aiming right on target, but there's some elevation, that shot's still gonna land. So you can just get close. It doesn't need to have to be perfect. And the closer that you are to the target, the more lenient it is with the zeroing. The further away, that's when things get a little bit more serious. So for most encounters, you're probably not even going to be engaging targets further than 300 meters away anyway. So just try to get used to killing people within that 100 to 200 meter area, and just start to take mental notes on where your bullets are going to be landing and try to readjust on the fly. That's the only way to do it. That and lots of practice. Well, guys, that's all for this week's episode of Ask Deadly. Definitely let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and leave some questions for next Sunday. And if you guys are around Twitch this week, check out the live stream every single morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A link to that will be included in the description box below.